Hi, this is Ray with School of Racing Graphics. In this video demo, I'm going to modify and change the colors of this headlight kit, show you how it works, show you the features that are in it. I'm really using these video tutorials right now to get my microphone and video set up properly. So I apologize if the audio is not exactly perfect or if the video stops streaming. I'm really just testing it all out. Feel free to leave a comment. Let me know how it sounds, how the video looks, if everything's working appropriately. And if you want to, you can also leave comments on the graphics, ask me any question about graphic design. As I go through, I'll do my best to answer each one. So headlight kit number 3 is one of the newer features on our website, or newer products on our website. And I just wanted to go through and show you how it can be edited and modified to change the colors to match wrap designs. So really it's created for like asphalt late model, dirt late model, street stocks, asphalt outlaw late model, that kind of the nose, a nice generic nose that'll fit on really well and really help make the put a finishing touch on the graphics. It's modeled a little bit after like a newer Camaro, though it won't fit perfectly into that Camaro nose with the big divot on it. It's not molded to, or it's not created to fit into that. And the reason is because of licensing. I cannot use those exact shapes and then sell them. Those are owned by GM, and so we just made our own custom ones that you can modify yourself and apply to a nose. Okay, so I'm just going to show you here. First, let's actually start in the folder. Within the folder, you'll see Adobe Illustrator file, Corel Draw file, EPS file, FlexiSign, PDF, Photoshop file, which is really for like iRacing or video games, R-Factor, things like that. Then an SVG file, which is perfect for like Inkscape. And so what you'll want to do if you're an Affinity designer is you can use the Adobe Illustrator file. I'm pretty sure it works universally. And if you're in Vinyl Express LXI, open the FlexiSign file. And then if you're using older versions of either Corel, Adobe, or FlexiSign, try one of these files. They're saved down to an older version of those programs. Okay, so let's get back to the file. Mainly what I want to show you here is the different layers, how we got it set up for cutting. Or it's not really set up for cutting, you'll have to do that, but all the elements are there and ready to go, so you can modify and cut how you want to. Each element is actually separated, so you don't have to keep it all together like it is on my canvas. You can take the light and separate it out, print it, cut it, and put it wherever you want it on the car if you want to shift it up, down, closer to the grill. So they're not all stuck together. You don't have to print it like this. You can definitely save some vinyl if you want to stack this stuff together after you've got it modified. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to show you some of the individual layers. I'm just going to zoom in. This layer here has all the detail on it, and it is actually a raster image with transparencies included. And so you can see when you turn that off, you have some basic vector shapes underneath it. Now these are high resolution, so when you print them, they will look nice and crisp, and you can size them up. Obviously, you can't blow them up to the size of the moon, but you can size them up pretty well before you start seeing a loss of quality, even though you don't have to. So I created these to be just a little bit big so that typically you're going to be sizing them down. So take your measurements and see where you want it to fit on each car and modify it in that way. And once you kind of get a good size for what you think works for you and looks right to you, just continue to use that file over and over. But I did make these a little bit big on purpose so that they could be sized down typically rather than having to size them up. Okay, so layers, we got the detail layer there. Okay, so I'm going to turn that off. And then underneath you're going to have the shapes, and what they're going to do is change the colors that are coming through the detail layer so that you can have a more unique look that fits your wrap design. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean here. I'll turn off the detail layer. We will take this guy here and we're going to turn it a teal color, something like that. And then I'm going to throw that teal color in here and make it global. There you go. Okay, and then when we turn our light back on, now we have a nice teal ring, and if we want it to be brighter or darker, we can adjust the color like so, and see it brightens right up for you, does all the work for you. You don't have to go through and pick through and work through all the details. It's just changing the color on one particular shape. So actually, I kind of like that bright. Okay, so we'll go there. So I'll turn that back off. Again, you can change the color to the blinker if you want. I'm going to leave that the way it is for now. And then the other thing you have here is you have your cut lines. So you'll have to set these up and tell your program and your RIP to consider these cut lines. Every program does it a little bit differently. In Illustrator, I believe you create a swatch that's called cut lines or cut, and then you send it to your cut machine or your RIP, and it recognizes that line. And so here I have a built-in bleed, so your bleed is already here, so that will essentially be cut off. It's just printed a little bit extra, and then your cut will go through, so that your black will bleed all the way up into the edge, unless you want it to be outlined in a different color. So we can, for instance, say turn that on, and then we can turn it to teal color, and then your bleed is going to be the teal color, and you'll have a green border or the teal border there on your light, something like that. So you'll have that option as well. And then let's see, what we have down here is the overlays. And so I just want to show you an easy way to add color to the elements within the headlight without having to pick through everything and change every detail. Because these are raster images in here, high quality, high resolution, one, they're flat, so you're not going to be able to change them anyway. So what you see there is what you get. It's the color underneath. And then you can add these as fluorescent overlays, or you can overlay them on top of your headlight, and then change the pass-through and the transparency on it to make it change the color. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this and the hot corner here, and I'm just going to work with just this headlight now to keep it simple. So I'll group these together. Actually, I'm going to grab them all, and I'm going to duplicate them and just pull them over here. Then I'll group it together. I always like to create a duplicate so that I can get back to base if I need to. Okay, and because I have the hot corner here, and this hot corner is already perfectly lined up here, all I have to do is grab the hot corner and then make sure that it's the anchor point for my alignment, align to the left, align to the top, and there you go. So now you can see it's black, it's over top, right? And so if I want, let's say my my details on that particular headlight to be the same teal color, I would, I could do that, and I could leave it just like that and print it. It's not what I recommend, but you can do that. You can use those shapes as a fluorescent overlay. You could delete this and just overlay this little bit, or you can delete these out and overlay around. You can even put a ring in here and overlay if you wanted to. So you have options to do that. What I like to do is grab what I've colored here as the teal color, and then go over to my transparency. And you'll see a bunch of settings in here. And typically all graphic design software has some version of these settings. You're almost always going to find multiply, overlay, and screen. So those are pretty typical and common between all design software, FlexiSign, CorelDRAW, all of them. Some of these other ones might be named something slightly different, but they all typically do the same thing. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it to multiply, and by setting it to multiply, you can see it allows the color to pass through. Maybe that's a little bit dark, so I can experiment and try color. And so with color, then you can see it allows that white to come through. It looks really shiny. And I can also go into my layers and then duplicate that layer, right? So now I got one stacked on top of the other, and I can set the second one to multiply. So now what I'm getting is a multiply effect and a color effect. And what it's gonna allow me to do is actually pull the multiply down a little, while still keeping some of the richness of the color, and then allowing the color to work its way through. So I'm coloring more elements. And so I'll delete out that duplication. I just wanted to use that as an example. And you can go through each setting and experiment with the different ones. So there's color burn, right? Kind of makes the white look brighter, but it makes it look shinier, but less of it. And you got overlay, which kind of brightens it up. Some of these won't work at all. They just won't look right. So you got soft light, you got hard light. That doesn't necessarily look right, but if that's a look you're going for. And so you can just play with it and mess with it and see what works best for you. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave it on color. And just to show you how easy it is, I'm going to go ahead and grab all of this. And I'll grab all of these here, right? And I'm going to I always grab the hot corner, and then I'm going to group it together. And then I'm going to turn it to teal color, and I'm going to align it here like that. And then I'm going to set that to color as well. And now you can see all the different details are passing through, even though we've got that overlay on top of it. And then if I want to, I can go ahead and change the color of the teal to something else, to global, because I set it up as global. So if I wanted to match my wrap, or if I want to leave it chrome like it is, I could just leave it that way, or just use some of the elements, things like that. So you can play with it however you want, but you can obviously see you can get a lot of options out of this just by changing the colors. Okay, so we'll leave that there. Same thing with the brake lights. Let's say you want the brake lights to match your wrap design. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that. Grab these, turn them green. I'll leave that there, the blinker. I could do the same here. Turn these green, right? And turn it back on. Show all. There we go. Now I have green tail lights, and that matches. It's not, obviously, green tail lights isn't something that you see in the real world. But if you're doing something kind of cool with like an alien car or just matching your wrap, it'll still look cool, and it'll pass the eye test. And so again, you'll go ahead and grab this, make a duplicate, and then we're going to set it up on the hot corner there, like so. Oops, did something wrong there. Grab that. Okay, and then I could take these here that I just put on there, turn them green also, right? And then turn it to color. And it'll have that same effect that it did over here on the grill. So you can see you can mess with the overlays like that. And then lastly, you got the emblem. You could change this emblem. You can make it yours. You can put your logo in it. You can put a Chevy logo on it if you want to. I mean, if you really want, you put a Ford logo on it, even though it looks more like a Chevy. You can even change this around to kind of go more with what your colors and your brand, if you want to do that. And then you could just throw it up here. If you download like a Chevy logo from like Brands of the World, though, you could like throw it on there. And then the shape back here too can be customized, have its own color. So you can do a lot to play with it and make it look different and give it a lot of customization. So I'm going to go ahead and just play with the color here for a second. And see, it'll just kind of go with whatever it is that you're designing. And you don't have to have them all the same, right? You can take these two elements here if we ungroup everything. Like that. And let's say I want them to be yellow and those are to be orange. Then I can just grab all these elements here, turn them to color, and then everything passes through. And again, there's a lot of ways to get this brighter. If you want, you can duplicate the shape, right? And so I'll duplicate the shape, and then maybe I'll stick an overlay on it, and it brightens it up, but it still allows the details to come through. And you see you can move it, and both of them are still there, but the overlay adds a little bit of pop. And if it's too much, you just turn your opacity down a little. So there's a lot of ways to customize this and just mess with it and make it your own, and use it, make it unique, and help make wraps unique. And so, you can take this and stack it over here. Maybe that's what I would do, is I'd put it over here, and then I would stack the other one next to it, and then print it all together so that it's, put this one here and then pull these in. Again, you can modify these as well. All the elements are down here to modify it. And then like anything else, you can always just take a shape, put a color on it, and also do that. And then you get the whole, you're coloring the entire thing, right? So you always have those options to do stuff like that, or even add elements in, add more to each little piece. So if you have any questions, you can always hit us up in the video comments. We'll be glad to answer them there, if not live, after the replay or when you're watching the replay. Or you can hit us up at srgfx.com. /support. Always feel free to reach out to me. I answer questions as often as I can. So look forward to hearing from you guys.